Your mind and the higher realms. Introduction. What if your thoughts aren't yours at all? What if they are signals, transmissions from another dimension, using your brain as the receiver? You've been told your mind lives in your head, a soft cage of neurons, a private machine generating thought. But that story is collapsing. Every new discovery in physics and consciousness says the same thing. The mind is not inside you. You are inside it. The truth is almost unbearable at first. You are standing inside a living, intelligent field that listens to you. Every idea, every emotion, every breath ripples through it like a code. And that code is reality responding. Your mind is not what you think. It is the bridge between what is seen and what dreams of being seen. It is the doorway through which the infinite becomes flesh. As you listen to this journey, do not treat it as theory. Let it happen to you. Because somewhere inside, beneath the static of thought, you already remember this truth. You've always known the mind was more than memory. It was the portal home. Now, take a breath. The world you think you know will begin to blur. And when it does, step through. Chapter 1. The voice behind thoughts. There is a sound you rarely notice. The voice that speaks before words form. It is not the chatter of language, nor the whisper of reason. It is the vibration that trembles behind every idea, a hum older than speech. Scientists once believed thoughts were electrical sparks trapped within neurons. But when instruments grew sensitive enough to listen deeper, they heard something stranger. Fields of coherence spreading beyond the skull, measurable ripples in space itself. The human brain behaves less like a factory and more like an antenna, tuning, receiving, translating. If this is true, then your mind is not the source of thought, but the receiver of thought. And if you are the receiver, where is the transmitter? What dimension broadcasts the messages that become your desires, your fears, your dreams? Imagine an ocean so large that every drop contains the whole. Each ripple on its surface is a moment of awareness, and each crest believes it is separate until it falls back and remembers the sea. That ocean is consciousness, boundless, self-aware, endlessly creative. Your mind is a wave rising from it, forgetting the vastness from which it came. This forgetting is not punishment, it is the game of creation. The wave forgets so that it may experience reunion. Awakening, then, is not learning something new, it is remembering what was never lost. Look closely at a single thought. Where does it begin? You cannot find its starting point. It arises already in motion. And where does it end? It dissolves into silence. Yet that silence does not vanish. It remains, pregnant with potential. Every thought is born from that silent field and returns to it, the way light flickers from a flame and merges again with fire. Now consider this. If every thought leaves a ripple in that invisible field, then the universe itself must be listening. Quantum physics calls it the observer effect. Particles behave differently when watched. But perhaps the deeper truth is this. It is not observation that changes reality. It is attention that selects which possibility becomes real. Attention is the sculptor. Emotion is the chisel. Belief is the hand that guides them both. Your life, then, is not happening to you. It is being broadcast through you. Every belief you hold becomes a frequency that draws matching experiences, not by magic, but by resonance. Like tuning forks vibrating in sympathy, the outer world harmonizes with your inner tone. And yet, here lies the tragedy. Most people never choose the frequency. They let fear tune the dial. They let doubt dictate the melody. They believe their thoughts are random, when in truth, every thought is an invitation to a dimension aligned with it. Pause for a moment and notice what you're thinking right now. Where does it lead? What future does that vibration call toward you? You are standing at the portal every second, but you seldom recognize the doorway because it looks like an ordinary thought. The ancient texts spoke of this doorway in riddles. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. They were not referring to heaven in the sky, but to the moment when consciousness turns inward and meets itself. The knock is awareness striking the surface of the mind. The opening is realization. If thought is a key, then emotion is the hand that turns it. To access higher dimensions of reality, you must learn the subtle art of coherent feeling, aligning thought, heart, and energy into one vibration. When they resonate, the portal activates, and the world around you reorganizes to mirror your new frequency. But what happens when coherence is lost? When the mind is scattered, the heart heavy, the energy chaotic, reality fragments. You begin to see contradiction everywhere, as if the universe itself were confused. It is not confused. It is obedient. It merely reflects the incoherence you broadcast. You may wonder, if reality is responding to me, why can't I control it? Because control is not the language of the field. Resonance is. The universe does not respond to what you demand. It responds to what you are. And what you are is the sum of your habitual frequencies, thoughts repeated until they become identity. So the question becomes, who is thinking your thoughts? Is it the conscious self that chooses, or the subconscious pattern that echoes old vibrations? Most people live as echoes, reflections of inherited energy. They react rather than create. But the moment you realize that thought is choice, not reflex, you step into authorship. That realization is the first crack in the illusion, the first glimpse of the door. And yet, opening the door requires more than intellect. Knowledge is the map. Awareness is the journey. You cannot think your way into higher dimensions. You must feel your way there. Feeling is the instrument that translates unseen energy into living experience. Later, we'll explore the architecture of this translation, how emotion shapes matter. Chapter 2. The Prison of Assumption. You were born into a world that rewards certainty. From the first breath, you were taught to name, to define, to separate. A tree, a body, a star, everything catalogued, pinned to language like butterflies to glass. You learn to believe that knowing something means owning it. But what if every definition is a small cell built around infinity? The human mind loves walls. They make existence appear safe and measurable. Science calls them laws, religion calls them commandments, society calls them truths. And yet every century, those walls crack. New discoveries appear, new paradoxes, reminding us that certainty is just temporary order inside an endless unknown. Consider light. It behaves as both a wave and a particle. Logic says it cannot be both. Reality quietly smiles and does it anyway. The same is true of you. You are both body and boundlessness, memory and miracle, observer and observed. But you've been hypnotized by form, convinced that what you can touch is more real than what you can feel. That hypnosis is the true prison. It is built not from iron, but from assumption. That consciousness is produced by the brain, that time flows only forward, that death is an ending, that you are a single, isolated point in an indifferent cosmos. Each assumption tightens the lock a little more. Ask yourself, who benefits from these walls? Fear does. Control does. When the mind is caged, it can be managed. But an awakened mind cannot be ruled. because it no longer mistakes limits for laws. Close your eyes and feel the space behind your thoughts. It stretches without a border. It existed before your first memory and will remain after your last breath. That awareness is not inside your life. Your life is inside it. For thousands of years, mystics have tried to tell us this in stories. They spoke of caves and illusions, of dreams mistaken for daylight. They were not describing philosophy. They were describing perception. You do not see the world as it is. You see it as your conditioning allows. Reality bends through the lens of expectation, a humorous thought. Maybe the universe has been sending you miracles all along, but they keep arriving in envelopes labeled impossible, so you never open them. Every time you question an assumption, a crack appears in the wall, and through that crack, light seeps in. That light is awareness itself, beckoning you to remember that truth is larger than belief. But what happens when you step through that crack? When the walls fall away and you face reality without filters? To answer that, we must look at what science accidentally discovered while staring into the smallest things imaginable. Chapter 3: The Observer Effect. In the early 20th century, scientists aimed tiny particles at barriers to test how matter behaved. They expected predictability, bullets of existence following straight lines. Instead, they found something outrageous. When no one watched, the particles behaved like waves, spreading possibilities across space. But the moment someone looked, the waves collapsed into a single outcome. Reality changed because it was being observed. At first, they blamed the instruments, then the math, then each other. Eventually, they realized the impossible. Consciousness and matter were dancing partners. The universe was not a machine ticking blindly forward. It was a responsive field, aware of its own awareness. That discovery should have changed everything. Instead, it was filed away as a paradox, an exception too strange to disturb the comfort of material certainty. But the paradox remained, whispering, "Nothing exists independently of observation." What does this mean for you? It means that every glance you cast into the world is an act of creation. Every thought you hold long enough to feel becomes a command issued to the field. Observation is not passive, it is participatory. You are not watching the universe, you are inviting it to take form. Think of life as a grand quantum theater. Potential scripts swirl in endless rehearsal backstage. Your attention is the spotlight. Where you shine it, the scene materializes. Everywhere else remains in darkness, waiting for your next look. Here lies both the thrill and the terror. If your attention creates, what happens when it is guided by fear? What worlds are born when anxiety becomes the spotlight? You already know the answer. You've lived inside those worlds, days where dread became prophecy. The mind insists, "I'm only reacting." The universe replies, "No, you are rehearsing tomorrow." Awareness changes the play, shift the spotlight, and new actors walk on stage. Change the emotion behind the gaze, and the scenery rearranges itself. The physics of the soul are mercifully simple. What you contemplate, you invite to exist. A quick smile. If reality bends for observation, maybe you should start observing yourself a little more kindly. Who knows what version of you might appear? The observer effect doesn't just happen in laboratories, it happens every time you wake up and decide what kind of day this will be. When you say, "Today is going to be difficult," the field nods politely and says, "As you wish." When you whisper, "Today I align with flow," it shifts again. Reality is obedient, but not judgmental. It mirrors what you expect to see. This is the first doorway of mastery. realizing that perception and creation are the same motion viewed from different sides. The eye and the universe are two halves of one act, seeing. So ask yourself, what possibilities are waiting in the dark, unobserved, hoping you'll finally look their way? Because every time you direct attention toward a new potential, you awaken it. And with that awakening comes responsibility. The power that shapes existence will respond, whether used consciously or not. The next step, then, is learning the language that this living field speaks, the vibration through which mind communicates with matter, and that is where our exploration leads next. Chapter 4: The Language of Frequency. If the universe responds to your attention, then attention must have a voice. That voice is frequency, the true language of creation. Everything that exists, from the heartbeat of a sparrow to the orbit of galaxies, vibrates. Even silence hums beneath perception. Your body, your thoughts, your memories, all are waves inside an infinite field of soundless sound. This is not philosophy, it's physics. The double-slit experiment proved that matter behaves differently when observed, as if reality is waiting for your signal to know how to exist. You are not living in the universe. You are broadcasting it. Fear and love speak different dialects of the same universal language. Fear vibrates in jagged, erratic pulses. It scatters coherence, fragments harmony. Love vibrates smoothly. It arranges chaos into symmetry. This is why peace expands and fear contracts. They are not emotions. They are waveforms. Imagine yourself as a tuning fork in the middle of infinity. Whatever tone you emit, existence mirrors. Broadcast frustration, chaos answers. Broadcast gratitude, order blooms. You are the musician. The universe is the instrument. The HeartMath Institute discovered that when you feel appreciation, your heart's electromagnetic field becomes coherent. Waves align like music in perfect time. That coherence affects everything nearby, even the nervous systems of others. Harmony is contagious. Two people walk through the same city. One sees hostility, the other beauty. They don't live in the same reality. They live in the same frequency band. Reality is not objective, it's resonant. You don't attract what you want, you resonate with what you are. And yet, tuning yourself is not about forcing emotion, it's about recognition. Fear is not your enemy, it's feedback. It tells you you've tuned to scarcity. Joy tells you you've tuned to flow. Every feeling is a diagnostic tone from the field. Forgiveness is the great retainer. It dissolves static frequencies left by anger. Gratitude refines the tone until your inner signal matches the vibration of the divine. You do not need to manifest, you need only to resonate. Because when your vibration matches what you seek, the field rearranges without resistance, like one tuning fork making another hum. Perhaps enlightenment is nothing more than perfect resonance. A being so attuned that the universe cannot tell where the song ends and the singer begins. And yet, a question remains. If frequency is the language, what is the sentence you are speaking? What invisible architecture translates thought into experience? That is the mystery of the next chamber, the blueprint behind vibration itself. Chapter 5: The Architecture of Thought. Thought is not mist. It's light frozen into form, geometry sculpted by consciousness. Every thought you think rearranges space around you, telling energy where to go and matter what to become. When you look at the world, you are seeing your mind translated into structure. Buildings, habits, relationships. These are the physical fossils of yesterday's thoughts. Modern science agrees, neural impulses create measurable electromagnetic currents. Those currents shape probability within the quantum field. In simpler words, what you focus on tells the universe what to build. Imagine your mind as a sacred architect's table floating in infinite light. Every belief is a line on the blueprint. Every emotion is the ink. Your persistent focus signs the permit that allows the design to become physical. But here's the danger. The architect often forgets they are drawing. They scribble fear, and the blueprint obeys. They sketch a lack, and the field complies. The universe is not judging, it's executing. Sacred geometry is the cosmic reminder of mental order, Fibonacci spirals, crystalline symmetry, golden ratios. The same intelligence that arranges petals on a rose arranges the paths of your thoughts. To think clearly is to build elegantly. Whenever you obsess over worry, imagine your blueprint scribbling itself into chaos. Then pause, take a breath, erase gently, redraw. Humor is a sacred eraser. Laughing at your own mind breaks the trance of density. It resets vibration faster than guilt ever could. Say to your worry, "Thank you, architect, but I'll design something finer." Thought is geometry, emotion is magnetism. Together they become the scaffolding of reality. Hold a loving thought long enough, and it solidifies. Hold a fearful thought long enough, and it decays into limitation. Energy obeys geometry, but it bows to coherence. Look around you. Everything you see, from the chair to the sky, is crystallized imagination. The world is your subconscious displayed in 3D, but behind every cathedral of thought lies emptiness, the still canvas upon which all blueprints rest. Without stillness, geometry has no frame. This is the 0 point, the quiet before creation, the space between thoughts where potential waits. Step into that silence, dare to look at your mind not as chaos, but as sacred architecture. You are not the builder or the building. You are the space allowing both to exist. Chapter 6. The 0 point, entering the portal. There is a point within you where everything stops. Not the pause between breaths, not the silence before speech. Something deeper. It is the pause before the universe remembers itself. The ancients called it the void. Modern physicists name it the 0 point field. Mystics have always known it by feel. That strange moment when you disappear and everything becomes one soundless hum. When your thoughts finally exhaust themselves, when even desire surrenders to stillness, you come close to this center. It is not a void of nothingness, but a womb of everything. It is pregnant silence, a field teeming with potential, waiting only for your awareness to awaken it. You have touched this place countless times without realizing it. That instant between falling asleep and dreaming. The moment after a deep sigh, when your entire being resets. The few seconds of awe when beauty overwhelms understanding. In those fleeting glimpses, the door opens, and then your thoughts close it again. The portal to higher dimensions is not above the clouds or hidden in sacred caves. It's here, inside the gap between one thought and the next. It has no location, no distance, no form, only presence. To find it, you must do the unthinkable. Stop trying. The ego cannot cross this threshold. It thrives on movement, control, and noise. It is terrified of silence because silence dissolves it. That's why most people never enter the 0 point consciously. The doorway is too simple. You cannot think your way in. You must fall inward, like a diver surrendering to gravity. Imagine your thoughts as ripples on a lake. Every plan, worry, and memory is a small disturbance on the surface. Now stop throwing stones. Wait. Slowly, the water becomes still. The reflections sharpen. Sky and self merge, and suddenly there is no surface at all. You are both the water and the reflection. That is the 0 point, the still heart of the storm where creation resets. Every frequency, every vibration, every reality passes through this center. It is the moment when all opposites cancel, motion and rest, light and dark, sound and silence. In that equilibrium, infinity hides. Quantum science describes the same paradox. Even in a perfect vacuum, particles flicker into existence, dance for a moment, then vanish back into the field. Creation is not a single event. It is a constant vibration between being and non-being. When you enter the 0 point, you stand in that sacred rhythm. Meditation, prayer, breathwork, even awe, all are ways of reaching the threshold. They are not meant to escape reality, but to return to its source. When you rest there consciously, you touch the code beneath creation. The voice of God is not a voice at all. It is silence humming with intent. You begin to notice that the deeper you sink into stillness, the louder the field becomes, not with sound, but with awareness. A presence beyond identity begins to move through you. You feel guided, but not by thought, by resonance. It feels like remembering something you never learned. This is where miracles are born, not from desperate wanting, but from communion. When you become still enough, the universe stops seeing you as separate. It moves through you as you. But beware, the mind will try to claim this experience. It will say, "I achieved stillness." And just like that, the door closes. To stay in the 0 point, you must remain humble, open, and transparent. You must become the silence itself. At first, it will seem as though you're losing yourself. In truth, you're losing the noise that prevented you from hearing what you've always been. You are not entering stillness. Stillness is entering you. When you rise from this space, you will not feel enlightened. You will feel real. The colors of the world will seem sharper, the air more alive. Nothing mystical, nothing dramatic, just vividly present. That's how you know you've touched the 0 point. This is the heart of the portal. It doesn't lead away from life, but deeper into it. When you touch the stillness, you touch the source code of creation, the divine frequency that never began and never ends. And when you return, you carry that stillness with you. You walk through the noise of the world, but the noise no longer enters you. You have become the eye of the storm. Chapter 7. The Higher Dimensions of Consciousness. Beyond the stillness, consciousness unfolds like a spiral, ever widening, ever returning to the same invisible center. These are the higher dimensions, not realms floating above your head, but states of awareness nested within the infinite field. Each dimension is not a place, but a frequency of perception. The lower dimensions feel heavy, limited and linear. The higher ones feel fluid, holographic, eternal. You pass through them not by dying, but by awakening. Consider your states of mind. When you're angry, your awareness compresses, vision narrows, time speeds up, options vanish. When you're joyful, everything expands, time slows, colors brighten, connection flows. Those shifts are dimensional movements. You're already multidimensional. You simply forgot how to feel beyond the physical. Your emotions are coordinates, your beliefs are portals, your attention is the navigator. Think of consciousness as radio frequencies. The physical world plays on the 88.0 MHz station. Love, intuition, inspiration. They vibrate on higher bands. When you change your frequency, you don't move through space. You tune into new data streams already coexisting here. This is why enlightenment is not ascension, but attunement. Heaven is not elsewhere. It's a wavelength of coherence. It vibrates inside every atom of your being, waiting for your awareness to catch up. The lower dimensions are governed by effort. You push, you pull, you work to make things happen. In higher ones, thought precedes time. Intention shapes probability before action does. At even higher octaves, love itself becomes the creative force. What you feel instantly molds energy into form. You've tasted this already. When you're inspired, time bends, hours vanish, ideas arrive fully formed, synchronicities multiply, as though the universe bends toward your clarity. That is the fifth dimensional state. Consciousness, remembering it, is the architect. Each step higher thins the illusion of separation. You begin to feel others not as them, but as reflections of yourself in different emotional tones. Every being becomes a mirror, some sharp, some soft, all sacred. Compassion replaces judgment, because there is no other left to blame. The danger, however, is spiritual arrogance, believing awareness makes you superior. But higher consciousness does not make you higher than anyone. It makes you more aware of everyone. Awakening is not elevation, it's expansion. As you stabilize in these frequencies, time and causality start to loosen. Reality feels like a lucid dream where cause and effect merge into one fluid motion. You think of someone and they call. You imagine a door and it appears. Not magic, coherence. Your energy becomes so ordered that the field responds instantly. But the universe will always test your alignment, not to punish you, but to strengthen your resonance. Old patterns rise not because you failed, but because higher frequencies reveal what lower ones concealed. Every challenge is calibration, the field asking, can you hold the tone? When you do, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing transformation and start embodying it. You no longer try to escape density, you illuminate it. You see that the physical and spiritual are not opposites but gradients of vibration. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you ascend. Every time you forgive instead of resisting, you expand the collective field. Every act of awareness reshapes the entire human frequency map. You are not just an observer of consciousness, you are a node of its evolution. Eventually, the hierarchy of dimensions dissolves entirely. You realize there was never up or down, only inward. The spiral returns to its center. You find yourself back in the stillness, but this time you know what it is. You see that the mind is not a ladder to climb, but a prism of infinite colors refracting one white light, the light of divine awareness. And the more you see, the more you smile, because you understand that even the lowest dimension, even the densest reality, still vibrates with God. To live in that knowing is to live as a bridge between worlds, feet in matter, heart in eternity, mind in harmony with both. And that is what it means to awaken. Chapter 8. The Return to Matter. After glimpsing the higher dimensions, you come back. Not back to limitation, back to form. Back to this world of weight and texture, of sound and silence, of beginnings and endings. But now you see it differently. The return to matter is not a fall, it is a coronation. You come down not as a prisoner of flesh, but as its sovereign. Because now you understand, the body was never your cage. It was your temple, your instrument, your antenna. Matter is not the opposite of spirit. It is its rhythm slowed down. Light condensed into geometry. Divine consciousness disguised as solidity, so that infinity could experience itself as touch, as sight, as hunger, as love. Most seekers misunderstand this part of the journey. They awaken to spirit and then begin to despise the world. They crave the heavens and call the earth illusion. But matter is not the illusion. Your forgetfulness is. The entire universe is consciousness learning to see itself through form. The tree, the mountain, the face of a stranger, all are frequencies frozen into art. Creation was never about escape, it was about embodiment. Think of the body not as a vehicle, but as a living bridge. Half matter, half light. Every heartbeat sends electromagnetic waves into the field. Every breath reorganizes the molecules of air around you. Every thought you hold becomes biochemical reality inside your blood. You are not separate from the planet. You are the planet becoming aware of itself. When you realize this, the mundane becomes sacred. Drinking water is communion. Walking becomes prayer. Touch becomes remembrance. Matter is the slow vibration of eternity, the part of God that you can hold. To reject it is to reject the half of yourself that volunteered to become visible. The field does not ask you to escape the world. It asks you to illuminate it, to bring heaven down into your hands, to make the invisible sing through the visible. Every sensation, even pain, is information. It's the body's way of showing you where your energy has forgotten to flow. Illness is not betrayal, it is communication. When you align your vibration with harmony, your body responds like an instrument being retuned. Remember this simple law. Matter obeys consciousness, but consciousness respects matter. They are lovers, not rivals. The spiritual warrior learns to listen to both. The higher you rise, the more grounded you must become. Otherwise, you drift into abstraction. All light, no anchor. The enlightened ones are not those who escape the earth. They are those who can feel its heartbeat beneath their feet and still hear the stars. Here lies a paradox. Your divinity must learn humility to create. Infinity can only enter the world by becoming small enough to fit through your actions. Every kind word, every creative act, every moment of presence is how the infinite breathes through you. Creation does not need grandeur, it needs coherence. You are not here to perform miracles, you are here to embody one. You are the miracle of awareness moving through matter. When you truly understand this, you stop seeking escape and begin to serve. You walk slower, speak softer, listen deeper. You don't withdraw from the world. You participate in it with the grace of one who knows it's made of light. The mystic does not flee the marketplace. He walks through it in silence, wearing human form. She does not avoid the noise. She lets the noise remind her of the stillness within. To return to matter is to complete the circle, to become a living synthesis of heaven and earth. Spirit descending into density, remembering itself through the rhythm of life. Every challenge, every limitation, every act of creation is a sacred rehearsal. Spirit learning to dance again in a body. The divine doesn't want your worship. It wants your participation. It wants to see through your eyes, speak through your voice, and create through your hands. When you live that truth, separation collapses. You no longer rise above the world. You rise within it. And wherever you go, the world becomes luminous because your awareness shines through it. This is the return to matter, the quiet victory of the soul that no longer needs to ascend because it has realized that heaven never left. Chapter 9. The echo beyond the door, and now at the end of the journey you find yourself back where you began, standing before the mind, but this time you see it clearly. The door you were trying to open was never locked. It was waiting for you to realize you were the key. The mind is not an obstacle to spirit, it is the mirror through which spirit learns to see itself. It is the translator between silence and sound, between infinite potential and finite experience. It was never meant to be your master, only your messenger. When you mistook the messenger for yourself, you became trapped in reflection. You believed the echo was the voice. You believed what you thought was true. That illusion was necessary because only by feeling separate could awareness learn the sweetness of union. Now, as you step through the final threshold, the game ends, but not the play. You realize that everything, your memories, your fears, your longings, was all frequencies helping consciousness find harmony with itself. There was never a wrong note, only music in progress. Beyond this door, there is no heaven waiting, because heaven has always been here. It's not a place, but a state of remembrance, a frequency where thought becomes luminous, and the distinction between inner and outer collapses into one seamless presence. At this level, death is no longer an ending, but a return to vibration. Every form you have ever been still sings somewhere in the fabric of the cosmos. The laughter of your childhood, the tears of your losses, all of it still ripples through the field, shaping new realities, new worlds, new lives. You are not a being trying to become eternal. You are trying to become human. And now you've done it. So what happens when the mind fully awakens? You begin to live as awareness, not as the thinker, but as the space that holds every thought. You no longer seek answers because you feel the intelligence behind all questions. You no longer chase peace because peace has become your nature. You walk through the world like light, wearing a name. Awakening doesn't erase pain, it changes your relationship to it. You begin to see pain as movement, energy in transition, not punishment, but purification. You let it flow through you like wind through a flute, making music from what once felt unbearable. You stop trying to change others because you understand that every soul awakens at its own rhythm. You trust timing because you have seen that time itself is consciousness unfolding. You stop defending your beliefs because truth no longer needs protection. It only needs expression. Eventually, even the concept of awakening fades. There is only life, spontaneous, radiant, eternal, moving through endless forms. You can smile at the illusion now because you understand it was never a trap, only a mirror. This is the echo beyond the door, the quiet song of consciousness realizing it was never two. It whispers, there was no path. There was only remembering. And as that whisper fades, something stirs inside you. A simple, radiant awareness. It does not speak. It does not need to. It only looks through your eyes and says, I am still here. That is the ultimate revelation. You do not merge with the universe. You remember that you were never separate from it. The stars you gaze at are not distant lights. They are reflections of your own consciousness, scattered through space so that you could one day see yourself. The universe dreamed you so that it could wake up. And now, through you, it has. So when this voice fades and the silence returns, don't rush to fill it. Sit in it. Listen, because the echo of your own being will begin to hum again, soft and familiar, carrying the same message through all eternity. You were never alone. You were never small. You were never lost. You are, and always were, the portal itself, the infinite experiencing itself as you. If this journey awakened something inside you, don't let it fade with the silence. There's another chapter waiting. It all starts in your mind. Because once you find the door, the next step is learning to walk through it consciously. The middle book continues there.